Hey guys, what's up? It's Stephanie. I am back and I have another video for you guys. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about my test anxiety. So yes, I suffered from test anxiety in my first semester, and this enabled me from passing some of my exams and also not doing very well on some of my exams. So I really struggled with this first semester. So I'm going to be talking about that in this video. Talk to you guys soon.
出れた出れた出れた飛ばす飛ばす飛ばすもう一回もう一回ハッハッハッハッハッハッハッドレムーはラスパラゴス
Okay, I guess so. Test anxiety, it is real. It is very real, and I can say that myself and also one of my fellow classmates who I studied with very closely, we both suffered from it. What is test anxiety? So test anxiety, before you take an exam, you get very anxious, very nervous. In my case, I would start shaking. My hands would start shaking, and my classmates, in her case, she tended to look around a lot, just get very nervous. Myself, I also tend to look around, but I tried not to because, that can be seen as cheating. So for myself, I just try to control it by looking up, but most of the time I was either playing with my hair, my hands, just basically going like this. I remember all the time my hands would get really sweaty, but who else's hands don't get sweaty? Also, before taking an exam, I know all the information, and when it came down to taking the exam, my brain just shut off. Like, I couldn't focus, I couldn't think straight. I was reading through the questions, and I was just, like, my brain was just shut off. I couldn't focus, I couldn't think straight, and that was just because of my anxiety also. But that was also due to a lot of stuff. I did have some clinical conditions. I suffer from tachycardia, so on top of that, I myself was not taking my medications, and the reason was because I kept forgetting to take my medications. I was so busy and I was so lost studying that I was forgetting to take care of myself. And that's one thing, guys. You guys have to make sure that you take care of yourself, because if you're not sleeping well, and then in my case, if you're not taking your medication, that's not going to benefit you in the long run, and it's going to affect your studying and your exams and your grades, and that's what was happening to me. And so I know for one of my exams that I didn't do well, I was definitely brought into the office to speak to my advisor, and he asked what was going on, and I was frank with him, and I told him, I suffer from test anxiety. And he started asking me questions about the exam and the information also, and I knew the answers, but yet when I was taking the exam, I wasn't able to focus and I wasn't able to answer the questions because I was just so anxious and so nervous. And part of that was because I wasn't taking my medication. Like I said, I have tachycardia. So when I was taking my exam, I felt like my heart was going to jump out of my chest. I felt like throwing up. I felt nauseous. I was sweating. When I got out of class, I remember my shirt was like soaked because I was so nervous. And then around me, there were students that were getting up and they were finishing their exams. And that just made me feel worse because I was still on, for example, we would have 40 questions. I was still on question 5 or 6, and I wasn't able to progress because I couldn't focus. I couldn't think straight. And so I know I beat up myself for that so many times. But, test anxiety is definitely a thing. Now, I can say it affected me my first few exams, but thankfully at the end, I was able to manage it. I can't say I've successfully overcame it, but I've been able to control it, and I think it's a lot better than it was before. How? Of course, taking my medication, that was definitely one of them. My heart was not beating as fast as it used to, or was beating. I had my Apple Watch, and my Apple Watch was just, alerting me the entire time, like, hey, your heart is just off the roof, like it's beating fast. It was over 100 the majority of the time, so, that was no bueno, no bueno, no bueno. And so what else did I do? So my university has an area for counseling. So I went to go talk to a counselor. We talked about, what my study habits were, whether I was getting sleep, which also was one of the factors. Some nights I tried to get my 8 hours of sleep, but some nights I wasn't getting my 8 hours of sleep. I was getting less. So that just added more to my anxiety and more to the fact that I couldn't focus and take my exams. Also, another thing Also, before you take your exams, you want to breathe in. Just it's so interesting what just a breath, like what just taking a single breath can do for you. It's interesting because I have my Apple Watch and it's always reminding me, hey, it's time to breathe or take a deep breath. And just taking that deep breath just releases so much stress, and it just makes you feel a lot more comfortable, not as nervous. And so that's one of the things I started doing before taking the exams, was just breathe in and breathe out. And for example, if I knew I was going to be fidgeting, then definitely sit in the front of the class. Specifically, if you feel that people that are getting up around you start bothering you, I attempted to sit in front of the class so that would not bother me and not allow me to focus on my exam. Also, another thing that also made me very, very nervous and made me anxious was that we have a timer when we're taking our exams. And so it tells you, the timer goes off once you start your exam, and you have a certain amount of time to finish all your questions. And so, of course, that made me very anxious. So I also attempted to not look at the timer and just solely focus on the questions. And sometimes, and also on some of the questions that we are asked, some of them are scenarios. The majority of them are. It's not flat out, it won't be one sentence and it'll ask you what the answer is. No, you'll have to read a scenario of a patient, and you'll have to critically think to see how you can answer that question. And so in these situations, you can get lost in what the question is asking because there's so many things going on. What I learned was just to focus on the keywords and on the key sentences and not look at the entire thing, because looking at the entire thing was just stressing me out even more. And so that's another thing that I learned. So thankfully, by the last exams that I took, including my finals, I can say that I managed it. I can't say if I've successfully overcame it, but I have it under control a lot better than I did at the beginning of the semester. And another thing that also added to that was my grades. I wasn't doing very well in some of my classes, so that made me even very anxious because I knew that I needed to get more than a certain grade or a certain percentage to be able to get the grade I wanted in my classes. So that was also added to my anxiety, was also the situation I was in. And so for next semester, for the the spring semester, just finished the fall semester, I am definitely I have learned so much this first semester when it comes down to studying methods. So I'm definitely going to use those studying methods that helped me get those 100s on my exam, those 90, 96s, 94s on my exams. I'm definitely going to use these studying tips to be able to pass my exams and not be in that situation. And also breathing techniques. Get my 8 hours of sleep. I definitely recommend that because sleep can do so much for you. Not even that, just power naps can do so much for you. And so sleep, and I've been taking and been regular on my medication, and that makes a complete difference. So I will definitely update you guys on that. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys, or just to give you a little bit of insight. I know some of you were asking me about that since I had briefly mentioned it on some of my other videos. But if you are suffering from test anxiety, you're not the only one. Definitely let your professors know. And also, if you can, make time to go see a counselor. They're very, very helpful. And that's what I did. Very, very helpful. They teach you breathing mechanisms. Also how to focus, because that's one of the things is that you're so anxious that you're not able to focus sometimes when you're taking your exam. And that's really, really important. Alright guys, well thanks for watching my videos. If you guys have any comments, any feedback, or any suggestions, just let me know. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.